folks. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio. With your host, Hurricane H. Today's show is going to be a super interesting one. We're going to talk about quite a bit of things, and it's in the realm of health. It's a realm of maybe supplements. It's a realm of maybe cannabis business, because with me, I have someone who runs a couple of companies. They deal with the stuff that I just mentioned. We're going to talk about mushrooms. For those of you who are interested in learning more about the benefits and how they work and things like that. So I have with me the CEO and president of mycroboost and also Custom Capsule Consultants. And Robert Johnson really is working towards making things happen for a lot of areas of our health. And I'll leave that to him because he's going to talk to us a little bit more about the different functionalities of the products that they actually manufacture and, of course, mycroboost exactly. But before we go there, I want to just have Robert talk to us a little bit about the story, because I mean, there is a story about getting into this world and the success story as well, because running a business is very difficult. It's not an easy task for anyone. So anyone that's out there running a business, you would know it is hard. And anyone that is not and wants to start a business or get involved in the business, maybe there's a couple of things that we could learn today about. So, Robert, shall I call you Robert or Bob? Which one?
Hey, my friends call me Bob. You can call me Bob. And thanks a lot for having me on the show. It is hard being an entrepreneur. And, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of use you as my therapist to talk through all the trials and tribulations we go through.
Oh, listen, please do. And, again, my pleasure to have you. And again, your stuff is pretty big and it is, part of where we are today in the health and, in the supplemental, the cannabis and the cannabinoids. I usually get difficult, with that word, but I'll get, back to it again. But it is a world that is not well understood, I would say, right? And so we'll talk about all that, piece. But really, as you said, you're a CEO, you're a business person, and it is very difficult world, to be out there. First of all, the idea to create a business and then pursue it and then make sure you get an imprint and a position in the market. There's all kind of stuff that goes in there, and it's a lot of work, strategy, and long hours. I can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to a friend earlier today, and we were just kind of debating the semantics of it. Like, to run your own business either takes, a lot of confidence or self-belief, or another way to look at it is just like an ongoing delusion, deluding yourself that what you're doing is meaningful and that things are going to work out, and you just have to, keep going forward.
Well, Bob, it is real. I love what you said. You were having this discussion. What are the merits of it? And some people like, does it pay off? Is it worth it? And you're right. There are moments of doubt. There are moments of like, what, maybe I shouldn't have done this. But and it's not. I would again. I hear you when you say about delusion. I mean, really, am I going to do this? Am I going to make a difference? But the fact of the matter is, you are, and that's really, and the self belief has to be there. You got to believe, and if you didn't in the first place, you wouldn't be, where you are today. And that's the other thing. I mean, and looking at history, all the big guys, all the big companies have started with ideas from individuals who believed in those ideas and they pursued them. And it took a toll on them, but eventually you get there and it's very, fun. It's a good satisfaction. We know that your vision has been implemented and executed, and now people are benefiting from it. I mean, that's just my take on it. So you want me to be a therapist? You're doing just fine, dude. You're doing great, and I support everyone who runs a business. By the way, even if you're running just working in the business, I support anybody that's put an effort towards success. There's different ways and levels of success. Depends what you want. And there is a satisfaction to being your own, entrepreneur and running your own, show. That's one thing. But even in the corporate world, I mean, you can run your own show as a head of department, whatever. That can happen too. You can be a CEO of a company and you don't have to own the company. So there's different levels of that. But it doesn't matter what level. It's still a difficult, any job, any type of task, anything that you do that you have a vision for, that you work towards, is harder. And smaller business is even more difficult than, as you get larger. It's different components, different stakes, but it's all the same. I mean, but you're right. It's all about that person. It's about the vision. It's about the toll. It's about the hours. And you do have these moments where like, oh man, am I doing this? Is it just me? And I get it. I mean, I've been there. I know exactly that feeling myself. But for our young entrepreneurs or people who want to be in it, just know that it's going to be a sacrifice. There are things that you have to give before, when you get into a business. For example, this is not a 9 to 5 concept where you walk in, you expect a check and it's going to happen. There's a lot of work. There's your money invested. There's your time invested, but there is a pleasure of putting a lot of work up front and then I guess get in the fruits later. And I think that's the best way to look at it, right? I mean, yes, like everything else, you are building the foundation, then you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And that's exactly what happens when you're in the business. Now you're running two businesses. That's quite a bit of I guess balancing the role in both sides and making sure that these things happen. And they're pretty impressive companies. So let's talk about the story behind the companies and the vision that got you into it.
Yeah, well, I moved to Los Angeles in 2008 and started working in the cannabis business, started my own company of edibles called I Can't Believe It's Pot Butter, which really was just
Love it.
my roommate and I were writers. We moved to LA for creative writing. And we, at the end of the day, when we were done with our work, just kind of joked about how it would be funny to have a company or a brand with that name. And after a month or so of just, kind of having the pipe dream about that, if you will, we're just like, we got to try it. Otherwise, we got to stop talking about it. And so I ran that company for a few years, sold it in 2010, and then was a founder of another cannabis startup called Tetra Labs. So we did that for 8 years and sold in 2018, right as California was becoming legal. And about that time, CBD and hemp became legal on a federal level. And so we saw a real opportunity to get in, use our product development and manufacturing expertise and experience to help a lot of people that we saw were jumping into the hemp space. Consequently, we got into making all different types of supplements over the past 4 years. And people kept contacting me about lots of different brain or nootropic products, and wanting to formulate those. And so as part of my role for a lot of these companies, I would research the ingredients and help them come up with a really quality product. And one particular ingredient that just kept getting brought up over and over was lion's mane mushrooms. And the more I read about it, the more I was just fascinated with how lion's mane affects the brain. And, similar to my experience with cannabis and CBD, because there's not a lot of research on it, so much of the benefits or the positive sides of it are all anecdotal. But as I was, meeting more people, reading about people's experience with these particular type of mushrooms, first we made a few products for a handful of different companies, and then eventually decided we want to have a brand of our own. This is something that we could really get excited about, and like you say, really decide that it was meaningful and important enough to spend 50, 60, 70 hours a week going from vision to reality.
Well, so you stayed in the world of cannabis essentially from the beginning, and was there any reason? I mean, was it just to have something that you loved and enjoyed, and then you decided to turn into a business opportunity, or it was something that you felt that it was necessary because of the therapeutic and health benefits of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was always into cannabis. I, went to a liberal arts school and, got a degree in creative writing. And when we moved to LA was in 2008, was right when the housing crisis, the economy was down. There was a writer's strike. And so just out of necessity, my roommate and I were doing odd jobs, ghostwriting, a little comedy writing, but we still needed to pay the bills. And I had good friends that right after graduating went and stayed with some friends in Humboldt County. They were all growing cannabis, and we moved to LA literally the day Barack Obama was elected. And so we just saw an opportunity, and naively we thought oh yeah, we'll just start this company, and then we'll have some money, and maybe we could go and intern on a show that we like The Office, or whatever was popular then, and the rest of the time, we'll play golf and smoke weed, and this company will just run itself. We quickly learned that it was all consuming, and especially at the beginning, took all of our time, our money, our credit card limits to get over the hump, and start to make a profit and pay ourselves. But throughout the experience, it's been really interesting to watch cannabis go from totally illegal. I guess in California they passed it for medical in '96, but all throughout the Clinton and G.W. Bush administration, there was still federal enforcement of federal laws in the state of California, and so it's amazing now. It's a really exciting time to be alive, that 40 states have some form of medical or recreational cannabis, and now mushrooms and MDMA and sports gambling and all these things that were previously illegal are now finally coming around. And I think that all those things have always been done, and it makes sense that finally the government is like, well, let's try and get a piece of some tax dollars on this.
Well, thank you, Bob. And I appreciate you sharing a little bit about your personal story about how it all started, and but you really hit on what we kind of discussed previously about starting a business. You realized that this is not going to be just an overnight or weekend deal. This is a real deal, and we have to stick with it. It's going to take a lot more than what we thought. But again, you had vision. You saw the opportunity, and that's the thing. You saw it and took it, not just saw it and just okay. Well, there's plenty out there. There's plenty of opportunity every day, but not everybody takes charge and leads, into something and really take a leap of faith in essence into a venture that, to your point, is very heavily regulated and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, but you saw that happening. And you're right, California is one of the earlier, state, if not the first state that kind of made it a little bit more, actionable in terms of access to cannabis and things like that. You're right. Now it's almost everybody. But, it's funny because, again, when we use the term legal, it's just when it gets legalized versus it becomes illegal based on whatever, I guess, laws that being put in place by a certain administration. But, cannabis is not something new. It's been used in medicinal stuff, for centuries. But in the current era, it's regulated because it was counteractive to other industries, I would say, and things like that. And it's still the case, so it's kind of like it's competing against other, I guess, currents when it comes to business, opportunities, tobacco being one, I guess, and there's other ones, but you saw that value, and that's the thing. You're one of a few people. I've had a couple of shows with like companies that run hemp, or they develop their own hemp products and things, but I see the same visions. Like these folks, they see something new that is sexy, hot, it has benefits, and they take advantage of that opportunity and they deep dive into it and they work it to become the next best thing. And you did. So again, I want just to congratulate you for that, and just basically doing what you've done. And I love how it all evolved. I mean, you had a small company, you build it enough, you sold it, generate enough revenue, you start another one. And then as you see things move, you move with them. That's the other thing. You have flexibility, and you have to have that malleability to actually do things in business. Otherwise, you'll be too rigid and you're not going to maintain and probably collapse. So again, for just little tips, for our audiences that are in business school, they want to learn tricks, those things can help you. Now, you went beyond that. So you went into the mushroom world. So why the mushroom world specifically? And I know there's multiples out there that are really from a medicinal, from a health aspect, they're very attractive and very good for you. And there's a lot of talk about them. And if you go to social networks now, you're going to hear some discussion about them. So let's talk about that transition specifically. Why? I mean, I know you've talked about one specific one, but is that the only one, or you've touched on others?
Well, with MycroBoost, we work with all different types of functional mushrooms, and I think in addition to the benefits of it that I found through my research, I'm always just looking for, the future. And I think one of the cool things about being in the cannabis industry at the time that I was it was just like I really think it's the most grassroots activist campaign of my generation. That enough people got together, starting in Colorado, California, and Washington, and people put this on the ballot. They chose to disagree with what the government said is, should be illegal for almost 100 years, and got to see real change. And so that, I think, is what was most motivating to me. Is that I'm super happy that cannabis is great for people going through chemotherapy or glaucoma or arthritis, and naturally, as part of legalizing something, it goes through steps of decriminalization, and for cannabis, it became a medical thing first. But ultimately, I believe that cannabis is no worse, in fact, probably a lot better for you than alcohol or cigarettes and things that are legal in this country. And so I think adults should just have that right to choose, and not have to worry about going to jail or prison over something that's a personal choice. That I don't think it's actually harms people, but if it's harming anybody, it's not people outside of the smoker. And so I also saw the rise in popularity of CBD, right? So as marijuana, as cannabis was becoming legal and in all the mainstream headlines, CBD also grew in popularity. And it was funny because it wasn't until really, I think it was in 2014, Sanjay Gupta was on CNN talking about CBD. And all of a sudden I started getting calls from like my aunt, my grandma, people calling me and saying like, hey, did you know there's this cannabis that has all the benefits, like all the medical benefits of marijuana, but none of the psychoactive effects? I was like, yeah, I do. I know all about that, Grandma. But I think it just takes a certain authority sometimes, right? If it's your stoner nephew that is telling you that about this stuff versus somebody with a PhD on CNN, that makes a big difference, especially to older generations that have decades of propaganda and just say no, and the drug war that has influenced their thoughts and their perspective. And so consequently, I think mushrooms or cannabis was really a gateway drug, if you will, for the legalization of mushrooms. And I just saw the same sort of grassroots, enthusiasm is what I got behind. And I just so happened to find myself in Colorado at a CBD conference like the day after mushrooms were decriminalized in Denver, Colorado. And I got invited to a mushroom event there. I didn't know really what I was walking into, but essentially it was all of the people that worked on the bill to put it on the ballot, and they quite candidly said they did not expect it to pass. It passed by like 51%, and so they were all kind of gathering around and congratulating each other, but also now asking, okay, so what's next? And so I just find, being in those rooms really inspiring. It's almost like, revolutionary that people are taking it into their own hands to not only, start a business, as we talked a lot about, is like, takes a vision and, such determination, but actually changing the laws of a city, a state, a country, like that is a huge ambition. And it's really inspiring to me.
Well, again, it takes a village, right? It's not easy, but it's happened slowly but surely. It's been going, across different states. I mean, and I'm in Jersey, so recently, I think last year or the year before, it was a couple of years when they just made things legal in New York as well. It's only a couple of years since they made at least the cannabis and CBD and the recreational stuff. But it's transiting slowly but surely. The mushrooms are not as well acceptable around the states yet, but it's happening. But you again, you saw the vision. It was a success to see these things happen, and you can take advantage of them because they have real benefits to people. And I love what you said that it's when you hear on CNN, oh, this stuff works, blah, 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 it then becomes a lot more acceptable across the board, right? But, doctors and therapists and, naturopaths and a lot of folks have been talking about these things on and on and fighting the fight to make sure that these are accessible. Believe it or not, even in the insurance space, I'm in the insurance space, and we tried actually to get this stuff for our seniors and the senior market for paid management and, even for younger folks, like, to counter the, what to actually basically be a substitute to opioids and things like that. So it kind of
Hmm.
like, but it is still, I mean, federally, there's still limitations. It's not, covered under certain, under Medicare, for example, there's limitations to what's covered versus what's not covered, the CBD, some of it, so it's kind of very challenging to actually have it, through, but it's changing. I mean, once the states, I think all the states have a firm agreement on this and they're all part of it. I mean, then it's very easy for the feds to actually take a stand there and change it. But it takes a lot of work, and people that are believing in this, and the I guess the healthcare folks that are participating in this are the ones behind the logic why this should be easy. And you said it, there's the very little aftermath or effects on the human compared to other things such as alcohol, which is legal. Now, I've yet to see someone with marijuana, cannabis, or any of these things, or mushrooms, that is going crazy and doing things. They're basically mellowed out. They're good. They're comfortable, and they're not bothering anyone. On the contrary, you get some alcohol in you, and you go like going crazy, like doing things, thinking that you own the world. So there's different things. And then for the health purposes as well. I mean, you talked about tobacco. I mean, it's clear today it causes cancers, different ones, and it's dangerous to the environment. Blah blah blah. We have not have well, there's no evidence, clinical or medical, that can be supported that it's detrimental to health to obtain it. And now, of course, anything in extreme can have some level of bad, but again, that's why there's industries that actually can you know clarify things and work on these things and the dosage and things like that, and it's happening. Now you have microboost that is specifically for the mushrooms. Am I getting that?
Yeah, MycroBoost is our functional mushroom brand. So, part of working in these, up and coming industries, a lot of time consuming part of it is educating people about these things, right? A lot of people have heard about them, but don't know all the details. So there's, your edible mushrooms that you put on your pizza or in your risotto, and then you have your functional or medicinal or adaptogenic mushrooms. Mushrooms like lion's mane, sometimes people will eat that as well. It tastes pretty good. They're usually used for their medicinal benefits, and they've been used for thousands of years in Chinese medicine. Even there's a famous Iceman, like Neanderthal that was preserved in an iceberg. It's called Otzi the Iceman, right? And he had a little satchel with mushrooms in it that archaeologists surmise, he used as antibiotic or used as medicine. And this guy's, thousands and thousands of year old corpse. So yeah, mushrooms are really fascinating, and I think in part of why functional mushrooms are having a real moment right now is because of the mainstream attention of psychedelics, and psychedelics now just starting to be decriminalized in cities or legalized in states like Oregon and Colorado for therapeutic use, which is the same path that we saw for cannabis, right? You start with decriminalization, and then you roll out the sick people, PTSD, extreme cases of depression or whatever, and it's a great excuse or a great cause for legalizing these things, or at least reconsidering that they might have some benefits to people, and it's just a step, I believe, and I predict towards full on legalization for adult use. 21 and up. You can make your own decisions. I think we're all, you know.
Well, so
Uh,
question. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, just that I believe that adults should make their own decisions, right? You could eat too much cake and or too much booze, but we all are going to do our own thing anyway, so we might as well not be wasting even more tax dollars enforcing penalties for it.
Well, that is true, and I mean, you make a great point. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, history is amazing, right? Like when you think about it, a lot of people, for example, went to jail for minor position stuff, and then this stuff becomes legal. So what do? Do you got to give them back time? You pay them back for the years that they've missed just because the law changed. It's amazing. It's a human thing, and sometimes you can't get your head around it. Like when you really think, like, so what gives, right? I mean, a year ago, like a day before, literally when these things pass, someone can be, incriminated and puts in jail for a minor thing, and then next day, oh, you can have the same thing, nothing happens. It's just unbelievable. But you're right, people are going to do what they have to do, and sometimes they challenge the status quo, and there's nothing you can do about that. I think that's I guess the beauty of the states specifically is that we have that. I mean, the people are the people, and they do what they have to do, and every now and then they do challenge, the concepts of the government and the law, and it just changes a little bit dynamics. And it over the history we've seen that over and over. I love what you said. I mean, you have someone who's 1,000 years, frozen, and preserved with, mushrooms, which again goes back, as you said, the Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine, Native Americans. I mean, all over the world, actually, these things have been used over and over centuries for their, real medicinal pieces. And yet they were still marginalized because of different things. As we said, it's really sometimes it's just competitive with products that can be a little bit more um, I guess profitable, as well as they have enough lobby power. I mean, I don't like to talk politics, but that's part of this deal. I mean, when you're in some industries, there's quite a bit of power that goes beyond politics and passing bills
Yeah,
and make sure.
I find it funny sometimes that people, categorize plant medicine as separate from traditional medicine or Western medicine, because in actuality, all Western medicine is either derived from plants or a synthesized version of it. Aspirin comes from willow bark. Penicillin was actually a fungus bacteria, that was discovered by accident from some spores that flew through a window and landed in a petri dish. So really everything of value on the planet comes from nature, and medicine is no different. And so now it's really interesting to see these different worlds converging of naturopathic, plant medicine, religious ceremonial hippies or whatever you want to call it, and then the pharmaceutical industry also really interested in synthesizing these compounds, switching them up enough that they can patent them. But the more studies that come out about breakthrough treatments for previously treatment resistant issues such as depression, PTSD, that has definitely got the interest peaked of the pharmaceutical industry. And I think that everybody coming at it from their own angle to bring psychedelics and mushrooms, whether the real thing or some synthesized amalgamation of it, is really going to be for the better of the planet. I think the reason I got into cannabis and mushrooms both was not just the recreational experience of it, which is fun, but I think the sort of thoughts that they provoke. And I find it interesting to work in an industry where we're talking about plants that really make us, question the nature of our existence and the meaning of life, and how we treat people, and being focused on our own like personal evolution, and having these substances which are naturally occurring that can really alter our perspective to see things in a different way. And I think in the case of mushrooms, one anecdote that always comes up is that the solutions to your problems were always right around you. They're not these elusive thing, but if we get just stuck in our habits or in our perspective of thinking, our our mode of thinking, we can miss this stuff because we have blinders on. And I think that's one of the beauties of cannabis and mushrooms. It allows us to sort of step outside ourselves, see things from a new perspective, and then integrate that. Not smoke every day and avoid your problems, but using that new wisdom that you gain to be a better person. And so the supplement industry, largely is branded around that, being your best you. And I really try to embody that. And I enjoy meeting other people that's what they focus on a daily basis.
Well, thank you so much. Again, it's not a difficult concept. It is something that is beneficial, and we just need to use it. And by the way, as you said, everything around us comes from nature, no matter what. I mean, yes, we synthesize things, but we still need the bare minimum stuff from nature to start whatever it is that we manufacture. And you're into manufacturing, so you use a lot of the stuff, different. I mean, obviously you have labs, you have these things, but you do have to get the ingredients from somewhere, and a lot of them are available in nature. And many of these things were discovered, as you said, medicinal stuff that was just like, oh, what is this? It works. Let's put it into a capsule somewhere and just have people, get it, or maybe put it in a syringe and throw it into somebody's bloodstream. I don't know, but it's been like that. But so, the name MycroBoost, is an interesting name. I've been kind of pondering a little bit about, like, there's got to be some level of strategy behind it. I mean, I love that boost. I mean, these things give you a boost. So so let's talk about what is that. Is that a surge boost? Is that what kind of boost are we talking about?
Yeah, well, it's a fun story about how it came to be. We had a little like company retreat up in Big Bear a couple summers ago, and one of the team building activities we did was we had a Shark Tank-esque sort of pitch session, and we broke up into 3 teams, and we had a combination of salespeople and production people and management all kind of mixed together, and kind of got together for a couple of hours, and the assignment was, come up with a product and a pitch, and then we decide, which one the sharks wanted to invest in. And so this group that I wasn't a part of, salespeople and production people, came up with the idea of MycroBoost. And originally we were the pitch from that night was combining functional mushrooms with other traditional supplements for targeted effects. So if we would have lion's mane and ginkgo biloba and stuff that was good for your brain, and mixing those together, or cordyceps and caffeine, natural energy source from the mushroom, and then a combination. But micro is spelled with a Y because mycology is spelled with a Y. It's the study of mushrooms, and then boost, of course, is a boost to your health. It's a if it's a good boost to your microdose. So if you are microdosing mushrooms and you take our products, you're going to have some synergistic effects there. You don't need to have a microdose to feel the benefits of functional mushrooms, but they do work really nicely together. So that's kind of a wink to our friends in the psychedelic world.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I like that. But again, it's genius because it has the concept and it does give those boosts in different areas, and you target specific ones for specific, I guess, parts of the body and functions of the body, and and that's really amazing. Now, I'm assuming there's production, folks, and I guess experts or doctors or someone like experts in that realm that actually make those combinations. Is there a scare? I mean, are the products scarce because those specific mushrooms are not, maybe I'm not sure. Are they available in a capacity where it's everywhere, or a specific zone, or do you actually grow them yourselves? How do you get those products? Well, the
Yeah.
natural ingredients.
Well, because of the demand for it, definitely more and more people are growing mushrooms. We were fortunate to find a company out of Canada, father and son, company that have been growing mushrooms for about 40 years. And I think one thing for your listeners that are interested in mushrooms to really understand, it's something that I've been writing about and an activist about, is there is currently a petition to the FDA from a group of mushroom companies, and what they're requesting is that the FDA require for mushroom supplements to label on their product whether or not their product is made from the fruiting body of a mushroom versus what is called myceliated oats. And I'll explain that. So when you grow mushrooms commercially indoors, you have a starchy substrate, or the soil, if you will, that the mushrooms will grow on. And this is usually made with oats or corn or rice. And that substrate is inoculated with the spores or the liquid culture, the strain of the mushroom. Throughout the substrate, the root system, or what is known as the mycelium, grow throughout that substrate. And then the fruiting body is what we know of a mushroom, the stem and the cap, or in the case of lion's mane, it kind of looks like a cheerleader's pom-pom or a lion's hair. But that fruiting body is what actually protrudes from the myceliated block. And in Mycroboost and companies that are petitioning the FDA, we use that fruiting body. With our products, we even make a concentrated version of that so we can fit, more medicinal benefits into a small form factor like a vegan soft gel or a gummy. But what I learned, and unfortunately this is the case in across the supplement world, there's good and bad actors, right? Because it's not regulated by the FDA like the same way that pharmaceuticals are. People will obfuscate what is in their product sometimes, or kind of mislead customers. And as owner of Custom Capsule Consultants, we've made products for over 387 brands now, 99 of them last year. And so people contact me all the time and they want to put whatever trendy ingredient into their product, whether it's ashwagandha, elderberry, lion's mane. And sometimes, I'll go back and I'll do my research and I'll explain, all these ingredients are really great, but there's no way that we could put a significant amount of each of them in there that it would really be doing anything beneficial, right? I wrote an article for Rolling Stone recently kind of defining these terms for understanding the mushroom market. In the supplement world, this is known as fairy dusting, right? So you're putting a little bit of an ingredient that has some cachet or popularity, so you can put that on the front of your bottle. But if you need 1,500 milligrams of lion's mane to really get some cognitive benefits, and you're putting 2 milligrams in there, well, then you're really just selling a placebo at best, or a bold lie at worst. And so what I learned a lot of mushroom supplement companies do is they buy the mycelial block from mushroom farmers. The actual fruiting body is much more expensive, but they'll buy that myceliated oat block, and that is what they pulverize and grind down and put into the cheap 2-piece capsules or mushroom coffee or mushroom powder. Now, there is some medicinal benefits in mycelium, but in the fruiting body, it's exponentially more. And then also what you have essentially a ton of filler, because in that block, the majority of it is oats or grain or starch, and not the mycelium. And it could be the greatest oats on the planet, but if you're paying $40 for a bag of mushroom coffee, you're not paying for the dirt that it was grown in. And so in my research, I thought, wow, I understand people in business cutting corners and trying to get ahead and make the most profitable product. I thought, well, maybe this fruiting body is 5 times or 10 times stronger than the myceliated oats. It can't be that much of a disparity. But as I was researching this article and really educating myself, I found it's more like 500 to 1 of the benefits of a fruiting body versus myceliated oats. And so it makes sense that that this company, it's the company that we buy our mushrooms from, is petitioning the FDA and saying, hey, it's really misleading to customers to call a product that's made with myceliated oats mushrooms or to put mushroom imagery on the packaging. And I want people to buy MycroBoost, but more importantly, I believe in mushrooms so much that I want people to have a positive experience from it.
Hmm.
And what I experienced in the last 4 years with CBD, with so many people that were rushing in to, make a quick buck. One, they didn't know about making a quality product, or they didn't care, and consequently, because there was so much, subpar products out there, I think a lot of people got the impression that CBD doesn't really work. And actually, it's great for so many things. And those people might be really missing out on the benefits that a quality product could bring them. So I like to educate people as much as possible, keep supplement or mushroom companies honest, just for the sake of the industry, because I really did saw CBD go from boom to bust really quickly, and that's the last thing I want to see happen with mushrooms.
Well, thank you, Bob. I truly appreciate you breaking this down because that's an important piece to our audiences. Because fact is, you're right. There's products and there's products, and it's very easy, as you said. That's not FDA approved, and so therefore you can get away if you have a small percentage of whatever you claim. Technically you have it, but it's not really the potency that you require. And so when people, I mean, we hear this all about supplements, vitamin D's, and all the other stuff, the standard ones. You buy some of these things, they don't have really what it takes to get that nice little boost to your immune system, whatever you need, as opposed to getting something that is high potency, which has a real effect, and you feel the difference between one product to the other easily. But I mean, again, industries are industries, right? Some will, you said it best. They'll cut corners. Profit is easy. Let's get in. You find a way. They're not lying technically, but they're just not giving you the full picture. They're not giving you the concentrated version. And for someone who is building a company, I think this best as a CEO is that your brand, your signature, your name, everything goes around that, and the quality is everything, right? If you short people on the quality, it doesn't last long. You only can fool people for a minute, and then that's about it, right? And that's exactly, some companies, they don't make it long enough because people and they tarnish the image of whatever that industry is. As you said, people, for the last couple of years, CBD was big, but then as you said, now you have so many companies and so many what do you call them, like fake, I would say, or like copycat, companies that come on the market that, I'll give you an example. So we have a company for argan oil, Moroccan oil, which is, the oil is only made in one place. It's only in Morocco in one zone, and you get these kernels and they get squeezed and you get real argan. A lot of products claim to have argan oil in them, but when, like they're argan oil, but when you go to the actual, content, it's like you said, 1%, 2%, 10% maybe at best. So the oil is really just diluted with other oils, but the actual potent, ingredient is very minimum. It's not 100%. It's not what you get. And that actually drives me nuts because here you go, you bring in something that is 100%. It's all squeezed fresh. You know where it's coming. It's coming from the trees to the factory floor, and then to the bottle. Meanwhile, you have people that claim they put a little bit and they sell it for the same or maybe cheaper, which that's the other part. Like, the cost varies when you don't have a big price. You just take it for what it's worth. Like, listen, I can sell this for $5. It's costing me like 50 cents. Meanwhile, yours is costing you a lot more. $5 is the cost, and you got to sell it for more. So, and this is exactly industry wise. You have these, folks that get into it, and they do make the money, unfortunately, but they also, kind of kill the reputation of the products that are out in the market.
Yeah, it doesn't ever really make sense to me from even a business perspective, unless you're just trying to make money in a week and skip town. It costs a lot of money and time to acquire new customers, get them to try your product for the first time, and then if you're just counting on them to go for the placebo effect, then it seems like why not just spend the extra buck and make a really quality product that people are going to notice and tell their friends. And it just seems antithetical to smart business.
True, but here's the thing, right? That's not what they're looking at. Typically, what they'll be looking at is that, well, we're not lying. It is the product, and people don't know much about this product to start with. I mean, when I say argan oil, how many people know exactly what the ingredients are, and what it does, what the benefits? You could write, I can copy from any site and dump that and say this is what it does, and I'll make it work, right? But really, when you actually take like that bottle, you'll have to get like 20 bottles to get the same effect of one, and I guess that's good for resales and whatever. But as you said, it's not a long lasting strategy, and it will definitely eventually people get savvier as they learn more about the products, and the products get into the market. You get more experts that talk about these, and there are people that now with social media you be careful because they do take your product and sample them. People take them to lab, and they'll have a whole frenzy on and go viral just because of a mistake that someone can make. So it's very dangerous game, but yet it happened. It's been happening. And you're right. I love the kind of lobbying, or at least the concept of people really championing the idea that they have to get more stricter on these, companies, or at least these regulations, to make sure that these, whatever you say on the label, is really what's in there, and you cannot lie. You cannot, just claim, because I mean, the claim is correct when you say it has mushrooms. It has mushroom. Well, it has the, percentage of a mushroom, but you could literally get away with it. That's what people have been doing. Now, the fun thing is that you are an expert on both sides because you also do the capsules and things like that. So you know that it requires certain things, and you understand the rules on that end. So that's a big, plus for you because, and I believe that was your first company, right? The capsules, the manufacturing.
Yeah, well, custom capsules started before we came up with mycroboost. That's right. Yeah.
So you know that business well enough, and you've covered quite a few brands out there. So I do want to ask a question about that. So those are the gel caps and the supplements caps and things like that. Is that what you're making? Correct?
Yeah, soft gels is one of our main form factors that we specialize in. And at Tetra Labs, the cannabis company I worked at for 8 years, we always only made capsules out of gelatin, soft gels out of gelatin, which 99% of soft gels on the market are made from gelatin. But we wanted to, differentiate ourselves further and get to become experts in vegan soft gels as well. And in the health and supplement world, especially in cities like Los Angeles, people are more and more vegetarian. And even for meat eaters, I've never had a meat eater come to me and say, like, I must have cow products in my mushroom supplements. So it's good for everybody. And then it also the alternative to gelatin that we use is tapioca starch. It comes from the cassava root, and it has some cool qualities besides, I think, being more marketable because it's vegan. It also has a natural higher pH than gelatin. And so when you swallow a gelatin supplement, the shell has a pH about identical to that of a normal human stomach. It's between like 4 and 5. So the soft gel will break down in your stomach acid, and your stomach acid can destroy a lot of the active ingredients that's in that product, whether it's vitamin C or reishi mushrooms. But the higher starch, or the higher pH of the tapioca starch, allows it to survive the stomach and breaks down in the intestine, which is all just a long way of saying that you actually feel more of the active ingredients in there. And some gelatin companies even put what is called an enteric coating on their gelatin soft gels to raise the pH for that very reason, just a higher bioavailability. And in addition to that, too, they don't melt as easily as gelatin soft gels. So for someone like me running an e-commerce business, and I shipping to Hawaii or Southern California on a hot summer day, those gelatin capsules could, have the potential to melt sitting there on a doorstep while the customer is at work all day. So that's just another cool benefit of vegan soft gels. But in addition to that, we make a ton of gummies. Just in the past 5 years, not only in cannabis and mushrooms have gummies become really popular, but across the supplement industry, it's just, I think it's a lot more habit forming. People, adults like to have that little sugar hit. It's like kind of a Pavlov's dog reminder. I think it kind of creates this
The candy.
habit loop. Yeah. yeah, you're convinced yourself that you're being healthy by eating your apple cider vinegar gummies. Which, by the way, like you would need to eat the entire container of apple cider vinegar gummies to get one full therapeutic dose of apple cider vinegar. But I digress. But we make all sorts of different products. I think our most popular one is our mushroom coffee, and it makes sense. Speaking of habits, coffee is the most widely consumed drug on the planet. A habit of most adults, and so making a mushroom coffee alternative has really caught on. And part of our product development process is really understanding what's out there. So as we were developing the coffee, I bought the top 20 best selling mushroom coffees on Amazon, and we tried them all, and a lot of them tasted what I would call healthy, or in a less kind way, like dirt. And maybe that's because they're using the myceliated oats. They're using literal soil in their product, and consequently it doesn't taste very good. And I thought, if people are really going to change this really ingrained habit of drinking coffee, then it's got to taste great, and it's got to really be a good substitute for that boost that you get from 125, 250 milligrams of caffeine, depending on how tall your Starbucks cup is. And so we looked at everything and we decided we're going to put more mushrooms in our coffee per serving than anybody, and we want to make it taste, undeniably delicious. And so, yeah, we do have more mushrooms than any company. Fruiting body mushrooms as well, 3,000 milligrams per cup, and that's across 5 different mushrooms that we use: lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, chaga, and reishi. And to make it taste good, we use organic cacao, which is also an adaptogenic in itself as well. And, is good for anxiety. It's nice and calming. And, it's like a mushroom mocha. So it's a great way to start your day. I still love coffee myself too. So I take a tablespoon often and just stir it into my hot coffee. You can do it with hot water. But I like the combination personally.
Just on that, the mushroom coffee, is that MycroBoost mushroom coffee, or that it has a different name for the brand?
No, it's MycroBoost. Yep.
Okay, it is MycroBoost. Okay, so we're gonna have to check it out. Because I've tried other mushroom coffee myself, but I mean, they're good, but I still haven't found the one that is like real, like close enough to coffee with the same kick, that kind of thing. I mean, I am a coffee lover, so I drink, at least like 2 cups a day, and with no extra stuff. I don't do sugar, I don't do milk, but I like my little, just pure caffeine in there. But yeah, but it is, as you said, it's a healthier substitute for someone who wants to transit. This can be a good way to do that without giving up I guess, your fixation on and having that nice little boost, in the morning, right? So it makes a difference. So we'll definitely check it out. And again, thank you for clarifying that, because that's an important piece. Yes, I mean, it is what it is, but it depends on where and how much of the ingredient is in that particular bag. That's what really matters. And whether it's in a capsule or a bag doesn't matter. It's the same thing. I just the analogy you said as the apple, cider vinegar. I've actually had those. They taste very sour, I guess. Acidy, but I don't know to what level that content is. And but now you just clearly, I mean, might as well just get a nice little spoon and just get one of those, right?
Yeah.
It makes a difference. But like again, I try to get into the health concept and make sure that we have some good things, for our audiences. But I also I'm a consumer too, so I'm always looking to get some good stuff, that's in the market and learn about it, for health purposes, and to share with my family, my parents, or my mom specifically. She's an older lady with diabetes and some other, stuff. So whatever we can do to help, we can do, and we do the same for our people. Now, the company now, MicroBoost, it's only online, I'm assuming. Is that what it is? Because you mentioned e-commerce, or you have, outlets.
Yeah, it's primarily online. We do have a few mushroom stores that are carrying the product now, small grocery stores, and working on getting them into some local coffee shops. We started experimenting with some coffee shops here and offering a mushroom mocha on their menu. But yeah, I love interacting with the customers directly. But we do have a sales team that is working on getting our products out there in a wholesale way. And I'd love to one day be on the shelves of the Whole Foods and the Erewhons and the Sprouts of the world.
Well, listen, it will be there. I mean, again, these companies. I guess they're always looking for the best of the best. That meet their criteria of whole and healthy and less GMO and all the other stuff. And so, as long as you're there, I mean, I guarantee you that they're not gonna find better. Especially if that's what you're aiming for. I mean, they could do their homework and they'll figure it out themselves. So I know that's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And um, now, is this only in the States or in specific states, or is it also available? I mean, I guess the online is the online. Everybody can order, right? But from the outlets, that will be just in the States to start with, right?
Yeah, so far we're just selling to North America. Just this past week, I got our first order to Guam, which is
Ooh,
American territory, but outside of the continental U.S.
that must be exciting, right? I mean, you
Oh,
get a little
totally.
bit. Yeah, it's. I mean, listen again. It's a not. They're not big. There's not enough knowledge, I would say, out there, and so this particular show is definitely one of the few that's discussing about the mushrooms and the benefits, and the whole concept behind it. So I know that the more people hear about this, the more they're going to get familiar with it, the more they're going to be attached to it. Hopefully, it becomes mainstream sooner than later, just like everything else. I mean, CBD now is everybody's mouth. Everybody knows about it. So this is the next big thing, and it's gonna happen. It is happening. You are leading again. You are, I would say, cutting edge. You are a pioneer in this area, and you're making a difference. You and your colleagues, in the company. So it's always an awesome thing to be part of. I mean, at least I'm happy to have had this discussion with you. At least I learned quite a bit, and I know that our audiences will learn more now they have access to you and the company and the sites. Now, quick note: I know that on your capsule stuff, the supplements, you actually do like companies can actually do their own supplements through you, and you develop that for them. Like you can produce that for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a couple of things. One I define as white labeling. So we have all sorts of different plant-based medicine, from hemp to mushrooms to kratom to just traditional supplements like CoQ10, and we white label these products, meaning people can call us up. Well, they want 100 bottles, 10,000 bottles of a product that we make. We have it in stock, and we can put it in their packaging of their choice. And then the other thing that we do is what I call private labeling, and that's where you call me up and you say, "Hey, I like your mushroom products that you're doing here, but I don't want to do a coffee. I want to do a matcha, or I want to do a different flavor of gummy or something custom." And we work together with them to bring that to reality. Sometimes they've got the recipe and they're ready to go, and other times they come to me and they say, "Hey, I want to use plant based ingredients for supplement for like bloat or gut issues." And so it all is like on a case by case basis on how involved we get. And sometimes people even just buy bulk products from us and they package it themselves. Everything is really a la carte, and I try not to dictate how entrepreneurs are going to run their business, because it doesn't really matter anyways, right? People get into running their own business so they don't have to be told what to do. And so I just like try to be a good guide for them and resource.
Well, you're a great partner, and that's how you build a good business model. And you're right. I mean, but you have different flexibility, different options, which makes it a lot more attractive to different audiences and different groups and different angles. Not everybody wants to do the same exact thing. You can be a small business and start with your own, as you said, the white label. Just get a few bottles and test them out. You want to get your own stuff in there and ingredients, you can do it. As you said, you can get just your bucket of things, and you can do whatever you want with them, your own lab, and make it happen. So I mean, you have these options. I just wanted to at least give that to our audiences so they know, if in case someone is interested in maybe using you as an ag supply for
Yeah,
those
it's really
supplements. So
exciting for me because I love plant medicine and I love entrepreneurship, and so I get to work with 99 different entrepreneurs who are into plant medicine. So it's a great way to make friends and be inspired and also see what's working too, right? I have a pretty intimate understanding of these guys and gals businesses, and I learn from them every day, and people are experts in things that I have no understanding of in some cases, and so it's always interesting going into work, and I never know what I'm going to learn or who I'm going to meet. But it's been a fun ride.
well, listen, it's a good feeling. As I said earlier, I mean, doing what you're doing, it must be fulfilling, and it looks like you're enjoying it, and it is a great place to be when you do that. So now you mentioned like you do a lot of research, but you also do like ebooks and informative stuff that you produce yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm working on a book this year on mushrooms, and yesterday I just published my 11th article on mushrooms in Rolling Stone. I'm really excited about that. I grew up loving reading Rolling Stone, and so that's been a lifelong dream fulfilled. I went to school for creative writing, so I'm happy that I still get to exercise that muscle in a way that helps and elevates my business. And yeah, and I also, it's a great excuse to talk to people, just say, I'm writing this article and I find you really interesting. Will you tell me everything you know about mushrooms? So that's been a lot of fun, but not only Rolling Stone, but all sorts of different trade magazines and stuff. This last one that just came out yesterday is about veterans access to psychedelics, and Biden just a couple of months ago passed a $10 million defense bill to invest for psychedelics for veterans with PTSD. And as someone who is on the cutting edge, I sometimes feel like change isn't happening fast enough, and certainly the wheels of bureaucracy spin slowly. But at the same time, I really have to step back and see that change is happening. And I grew up in Texas in high school, and just one little gram of cannabis 20 plus years ago, gets you in jail for months. And I experienced that. I thought it was a grave injustice, and I'm so happy that we're waking up and not enforcing asinine rules like that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And by the way, you touched on the veterans and the PTSD. That's a big area where there's a huge need for help, and in a lot of it, a lot of it, right? And so this is definitely a form of assistance. These products can be beneficial to folks with PTSD, but all types, but veterans specifically, we have a lot of that problem, and it exists and it is real. And there's not enough, as you said. The wheels are turning slow. They're slow mo. We need to speed up the process, but at least a little bit of effort or a little bit of progress is good progress, right? It's progress at least. So we take it. Now, in terms of ingredients or like potency and benefits, is there anywhere where people can actually find the products, therapeutic, I guess ingredients as well as uses?
Well, yeah, because I'm always writing. I have dozens of blogs on mycroboost.com where we talk about each specific mushroom individually, talk about the benefits of coffee or soft gels, and the specific formulations that we put together at MycroBoost. And then if you search, Robert Johnson, Rolling Stone, mushrooms or psychedelics, you'll find my articles on that as well. And I don't just write about psychedelic mushrooms, but almost half of the articles that I've written for Rolling Stone have been about the functional mushrooms that we're talking about and all their benefits. And in the Rolling Stone articles and the blog posts too, I link to tons of research. So even if my blog or my article is 1,000 words, if you click on every link that I have in there, you're probably looking at 30, 40,000 words per article that your listeners could choose or not to, find which links they find most interesting. And it's the internet, man. You can go down a rabbit hole and learn as much as you want about these things, which I've found myself on many nights down that hole.
Well, you are passionate about it, and you're doing it from the heart, and you believe in it, and therefore you're giving the best, and the more the better for people to learn. And again, that's the other thing. When you learn about things, you know what the benefits are. You'll be promoting them more, right? You'll love them. You'll use them more. You'll share the value with others. And that's really what it is. So I definitely will have the actual links to both your companies and definitely to the blog, so people can actually get access and hopefully do their own research and see the value and eventually become, a customer. And why not? Now, talking about, influence and talking about, interacting and teaching people, we live in a world of influence and influencers. Now, I know that you do some work there. What can you tell us about that area? Because I know a lot of companies use now today influencers to promote, products.
Well, yeah, a ton of the podcasts that I go on are health and fitness podcasts like yours, and so we have a lot of affiliates that run their show. After we're done with this show, I'm plan on sending you a nice care package of all of our products. If you like them and want to share them with your audience, we welcome that. I'm going to South by Southwest in a couple of weeks in Austin, Texas, and sharing the stage with some journalists, activists, and one mushroom satirist. He does parody videos of the psychedelic industry. So yeah, those people all have a lot more followers and influence, or at least social media influence, than mycroboost. And so I'm really honored to share the stage with them. But because I was in cannabis for so long, it was really kind of a underground market. I wasn't going online and promoting our brands when it wasn't, totally above board. So consequently, I just don't have this experience that, even like 15-year-olds know way more about social media than I do these days. And so I'm trying to learn more about that myself. And I really, we have a newfound respect and appreciation for people that are constantly putting out content and making great podcasts and making great reels and stories and videos. It's not easy, it's easy to criticize, but it's not easy to do something quality consistently, and find an audience for it. It's just like entrepreneurship, you gotta work at it every day.
Well, I want to just, on behalf of all those guys that you talked about, all the influencers, I thank you, because, you're right. It is a lot of work, and, and there's different levels of influence, right? I mean, some people, as you said, they can just go on and criticize and get viral because they criticize an actor, a celebrity, a game. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's their niche. That's how they do it, and that's fine. But finding, it's the ones that actually just give, the real thing. I mean, they just have authentic content and get in the right stuff, more educational, more innovative, more mind stuff. That's a whole. It takes a toll. It takes a lot of work, as you said. Then these folks that really dedicate themselves to do this, but they do have a voice, and really that's the new media. That's really where it's happening today. Most people get their news, although I'm not gonna, encourage that. I mean, you don't get the news just from anywhere, but you want to vet out your information all the time. And I always say this, we give information to people, and it's up to the people to do what they need to do. And the due diligence is to actually do your research. And that's why I asked about, where people can go and find more information directly about the products and things, because it's not hard to do. I mean, you can Google things, but if I want your products, I want to just see what they mean, and I can go to you and I can learn about them. And so it's actually the safest and the best way to do it. So, but yeah, it is a big world, and I guess that's going to be part of your company now, and it's the future. And soon, I don't know. With there's AI too now. There's a bunch of stuff. It's funny because I don't know if you saw that bubble that came out.
Mm.
No, you didn't see it.
Oh, I did. I didn't know what it was.
Neither did I. I don't know what it is. I think it's an. I literally, it just popped up. This is the second time it happened on a Zoom call. So I don't know what happened. It just popped up, but I have no idea where it's coming. So I got to find out where those things. And there is a new feature of AI in the Zoom, so maybe that's what happens. But it was like, what the hell just happened there? And but we'll edit that. All right. Well, listen, we've covered quite a bit of grounds here, but anything you want to leave our audiences with before we close our show today?
Well, I think it's just my personal experience with mushrooms is about changing habits, and mushrooms have allowed me to have just more awareness of my actions, and allow me to, I think, really see them for what they are. And I think the biggest change that I've experienced is not being ruled by my emotions. I mean, I still obviously experience these emotions, but that perspective that mushrooms have given me, both functional and psychedelic, have just made my life that much happier, because I'm not reacting to life as much, but just acting with intention. And so, if I could share, one thing that has been like most transformative for me, it's that. And so that's the main reason why I encourage people to try it. And if it works for them the way it's worked for me, then I think they'll be really happy.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, Bob, it's been an honor, a pleasure. I enjoyed this discussion. I've learned quite a bit. I mean, again, I'm still novice in the world of mushrooms, and and even in the hemp world and cannabis. I mean, I've had few shows, but you learn every day. And I mean, unless you're in it day in, day out, I mean, it's some, but you don't know everything. And I don't think anyone knows everything about everything. That's period. That's where knowledge comes in. You got to keep digging and learning more. You were about to say
Well,
something.
yeah. I'm grateful that mushrooms made it possible for me to meet you as well, man. So it's very exciting. I appreciate talking to you.
Well, it's funny, but they do have a magical effect. They get people together.
Exactly.
So well, listen, it's I mean, there is always that, we hear about those, like the mushrooms. You can be in a nice little place, but the reality, there's really good benefits to this stuff. This is the real thing. It's existed. It exists now, and we need to take advantage of it. And frankly, I'm a big, in the last 4 years since I started, the channel and the radio, I've realized that we have been out on a lot of good stuff when it comes to health. We've been taught, a lot of things that were completely, what we're not supposed to be doing, and it's just how it's been. And, you don't realize how bad it was. I'm going to give you a real, this is a real thing. So my kids craved Burger King. So we got them Burger King. So I have cats, and I gave the meat to the cats. The cats would not eat it.
Wow.
Now, when cats don't eat the meat, there's got to be a problem. So I have to tell you, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying Burger King or any of those franchises, but the fact of the matter is, there's food and there's food, and you got to pick your battles here. What do you want for your body to digest, and how you want your body to operate? That's up to you, folks. But it's something. I mean, I was like, what the hell? These cats don't want to eat the meat. Now we know. I told my kids, now if they can't eat it, you shouldn't be eating it either.
Well, that's a health conscious cat. I don't think my pit bull would be as healthy.
Again, I mean, to be honest with you, I was shocked to see that, because I thought, cats will eat anything that you put in front of them. But this was like an eye opener for me. I'm like, is that a sign? Maybe, no more fast food in the house. But, I'm a health freak, but, every now and then we all fall into it. You cheat every now and then. I mean, that's the thing. There's influence, right? This stuff is all over the place. So sometimes you just fall into it, and you're like, okay, whatever, just a day. Who cares, right? But anyway, so that was just something I had to throw in, because, we were having this discussion about the health and the benefits. All right. Well, Bob, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been real, man. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, man. Have a great night. Appreciate you.
You got it. Well, that's it, folks. Hope you had some fun with us today. You've learned quite a bit, about the mushrooms and, some of the benefits and how it works. And we even talked about the encapsulated and, some other things, the supplements, the labeling, all different things. So there's definitely things here that, you want to take home. Do check out the website and, do check out those blogs and learn a little bit more about mushrooms and the benefits and how you can, take care of your health using these things. All right. So we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. I'm Hurricane H. Bye for now.